Hi, boys and girls. My name is Miss Rachel. I'm Miss Hulk's student teacher this year. I'm going to be teaching you guys your writing lesson today. Today, we're going to be learning about proofreading. So our objective today is that students will be able to proofread to identify the errors in a text and fix them correctly. So you ask yourself, what is proofreading? Proofreading is when you're fixing mistakes in your writing, you're making corrections in your work, you're reading your work twice, and it's also the final step in the writing process. So before you submit anything to your teachers, before you submit anything to whoever is getting a writing piece from you, you should make sure that you proofread because it ensures that your work is correct. So you ask yourself, why is proofreading so important? It ensures that your writing is completely free of errors. It can add power to your work. And without it, your work has a higher chance of having errors. So if we completely skip this step and we didn't proofread at all, then you have that chance of submitting something that's missing a period or you didn't capitalize your name and so on and so forth. So I came up with a little checklist that'll help us when we're learning about proofreading just to make sure that we're doing it correctly. So the acronym that we're using is CUPS. So that means that each letter of the word cup stands for something. So the C stands for capitalization. So when proofreading, you want to make sure you're capitalizing things correctly. So the first word of each sentence, the proper noun. So, person, what their name is, you want to make sure that's capitalized. If you're talking about McDonald's gets capitalized because that's an organization. If you're talking about going to Starbucks would be capitalized, things like that. And then did I capitalize something I shouldn't have? So if you capitalize, maybe you were talking about your dog in the paragraph and you capitalize the word dog. That dog is what your dog is. It's not the name of your dog. So that wouldn't be capitalized. The next is understanding. So you're checking to make sure, are there any confusing sentences that you read twice and you're just not sure what they mean? And then did you leave out any words? And are all of my words in the correct order? The next thing you're going to check for is punctuation. So punctuation is, did I put the correct punctuation at the end of each sentence? So for example, with this checkpoint in punctuation, it's asking yourself a question. Did I put the correct punctuation? So we would end that sentence with a question mark. If that was a period, then proofreading would help us figure out that we did that incorrectly. The next is, did I correctly place my commas? And do I need to add any punctuations? So the next step in our CUPS checklist is S. S is for spelling. So spelling, you just want to double check any words that you think may be wrong and look for that red line underneath your words. So now that some of us are virtual and we're doing a lot of work online, it's actually a good help that when we're typing documents on Google Docs or in Google Classroom or using Word, that we get that red little squiggly line underneath our words. So that means that there's something wrong with the spelling. So it's always important when you see that red line to go and double check if there's anything wrong. So we're going to look at a paragraph, a little short paragraph, and we're going to use that CUPS checklist to help us proofread this paragraph. So it says, on Sunday, Anthony went over to Nick's house to play basketball. They played a game of one-on-one. Anthony made 6 baskets, but Nick made 8. Nick was the winner. After the game, both boys went inside to have some snacks and watch television. So, reading that, it sounds correct. However, when we proofread, we can see that there's some errors throughout a lot of this paragraph. So we'll start with our CUPS. So the first letter for C is capitalization. So let's look first. So when I'm looking, I already see that Sunday needs to be capitalized. That S in Sunday needs to be capitalized because it's a day of the week. So I'm going to circle that Sunday right there, and I'm going to make that quick correction. So now I'm going to keep going. Anthony went over to Nick's house to play some basketball. They played a game of one-on-one. I see an error. Looks like the name Nick needs to be capitalized. That's a person. And you can also see you made the right thing by capitalizing the N in the first sentence. But then later on, the name wasn't capitalized. So that needs to be capitalized. So we circle that and make that quick correction. Now we would check for the understanding to make sure when we read it, it makes sense. And when I first read it, it did make sense to me. I think that the understanding was good. I don't think there was anything wrong with our word placement. Maybe things were a little bit confusing to read just because of the spelling, but listening to it, I understood what I was talking about. So then we move on to punctuation. So I clicked ahead, but the first one is Nick's. So Anthony went over to Nick's house to play. So we're missing that apostrophe there. So I'm going to make that quick correction and fix it to Nick's house because it's his house. The next one I'm going to look for is still punctuation because I still think I'm missing a couple. So let's see. On Sunday afternoon, Anthony went over to Nick's house to play basketball. They played a game of one-on-one. Anthony made 6 baskets, but Nick made 8. I think that after there, if it keeps going, it's going to be a run-on sentence. So I think that we need to make a punctuation after the word 8. So I'm going to circle that right there, and I'm going to add a period because it's not asking a question. It doesn't need to be an exciting sentence. So I think a period there is good. So now let's keep going. Nick was the winner. After the game, both boys went inside to have some snacks and watch television. Now that apostrophe and snacks looks a little confusing to me, and I don't think it's correct. I don't think we needed an apostrophe there. So I'm going to go ahead and circle snacks and fix it to what it correctly should be. So that looks good. I think we're done on the P of the cups checklist, and we can move on to spelling. So let's see. On Sunday, Anthony went over to Nick's house to play basketball. They played a game of one-on-one. So that sentence right there, they played a game of one-on-one. That doesn't look like how the word game should be spelled. So I'm going to circle that. That's not correct. And write the correct word over top, G-A-M-E, not G-I-M. Now, I see another one. This but is B-U-T, not B-U-T-E. So I'm going to make that correction as well. Now I'm going to keep going. Nick was the winner after the game. Oh, and also it's important that when you're proofreading, you're going sentence by sentence. So you see that I knew that but was spelled incorrectly and game was spelled incorrectly, but I made sure to change the word game first rather than but, so that we're going in order and we're going sentence by sentence to make sure we don't miss any mistakes that we made in our writing. So we can keep going. The word went. So went is W-E-N-T, not W-H-E-N-T. So I'm going to circle that word right there and make the right correction to W-E-N-T. Now that I'm looking at the words after that, I think there's one more mistake. This one's a little tricky to see, but the word inside should be one word. It should not be 2 words. So I'm going to make that quick correction. Let's keep going. Inside to have snacks and watch television. Now, I think everything is correct. Now, when we first read that paragraph, it didn't seem like there was any mistakes that needed to be made. But when we go back and we use that proofreading skill, you can really see that there was a lot of mistakes in there. Maybe not as much in the understanding portion of cups, in our acronym cups with the U, but a lot in the capitalization, in the punctuation, and definitely in the spelling. So that's why proofreading is just such an important skill to have in the real world, because we want to make sure that we're correcting any errors that we have so that when we submit this piece of work or when somebody else is reading this or we're reading it aloud to somebody, that they understand what we're talking about and that it's correct. So this is what our final paragraph should look like. On Sunday, Anthony went over to Nick's house to play basketball. They played a game of one-on-one. Anthony made 6 baskets, but Nick made 8. Nick was the winner. After the game, both boys went inside to have some snacks and watch television. So that right there is your full proofread paragraph. So now that you're going to be going and doing your independent work, just make sure that you're going to have 10 questions that you're going to be fixing. So each sentence has numerous errors throughout it. There's not just one error. So make sure you're using that checklist. It's going to be in the Google Classroom. So make sure you're using that checklist and going through the capitalization through the whole sentence. Then you're checking for understanding through the whole sentence. Then you're checking punctuation through the whole sentence. And then lastly, you're checking spelling for the whole sentence. And then this isn't in the CUPS acronym, but it's important to reread that again one more time, just to double check yourself and make sure that everything is correct. So when you're working, just like I said, make sure you're checking for numerous errors. And then there's a short little exit ticket for you at the end. There's 3 questions. And the last question is just an optional one. It's just letting us know if you had any questions or concerns throughout the entire lesson, because I'm not there teaching you in person. So when you have a question, you can't just raise your hand and me answer you right away, or Miss Hulk. I'm not there for you. So just make sure that if you do have any questions, you put them in that last spot. And if there's any in there, me or Ms. Hulk will email you right away. Make sure we get that question or concern explained for you so that you can keep growing and keep moving up in this lesson. I hope you guys enjoy this lesson, and good luck on your Google form.